Are you going to take part in the circus? Because they've already shown you who they are. You have to decide if you still going to you going to keep your ticket for the circus, and you're going to see a tiger act like a fucking tiger. And when tigers tig, niggas nig, when liars lie, when, you know what I'm saying, haters hate, the only person to be upset with is your ass, because you went to the show. They was going to be who they were, regardless whether you came or not.
Roll me, Mac.
Do you ever have FOMO, fear of missing out? I spent a great deal of my life in that mentality, constantly never being satisfied with what I had and wanting to have other things, toys, clothes, things. I'd say that whole fear of missing out concept is believing that something was greater than myself. And that's nothing but my ego, right? My ego truly believes that there's something greater out there, and I have to get that so that I can be great. And truth be told, there's nothing greater outside of the center of me, behind the ego, behind the mask, behind everything that I believe I had to do in order to be seen, heard, and loved. But fear of missing out, I certainly was prey to it when I was much younger. Cause never taught, you're never taught self-love and all that shit. So of course, yes, fear of missing out eats at a lot of us. We really do believe that we gotta be at the biggest party this year, or whatever, for whatever reason it is, or being at the Super Bowl this year, going to a particular event, like, I don't know, Jay-Z's last concert, or somebody that's been programmed to be more important than the rest of us humans. It's their last whatever thing, or their first whatever thing, and I gotta break my neck just to be there. Fear of missing out. When PS5s came out, people were able to capitalize on FOMO on eBay or wherever you were able to sell one, because everybody wanted to have that validation item, which was a PS5. And you can replace PS5 with anything that's considered a validation item. It can be the Popeye's chicken sandwich when it came out. It can be the PS5, it can be a PS4, it can be a new Xbox, it can be a Tesla, it can be anything that is perceived to have greater value than what you currently have. And it's never enough. Never enough. we're never satisfied. But we are never, our ego is never satisfied with what is before us. There must be more. Don't get me wrong, things get old. Like my car, Frankie is on her last leg. On her last leg, but I'm dealing with it and obviously working towards like the future and stuff like that. I know there's like a mild, like a playful attachment that I have with the car, but all in all, it's just a vehicle, and it's definitely going to be time soon to upgrade to something else. Not so much for look, but I am going to take look into consideration, but more so just durability and being able to get from point A to point B. That's what to me is like the main focus to do so, especially like as an adult, making moves, constantly trying to build things. It's going to require something that can get me from A to B without having to stop in between A and B to get a damn a tire fixed, which is, is going to come with it anyway, but just not having a car that you got to put more money into maintenance than you do for the like enjoyability of it. But FOMO, yeah, it's FOMO. Hell, it was FOMO with women in my 20s, man. Like, again, putting shit on pedestals, and like a FOMO in school. Like, oh man, you got to get with her or whatever, whoever it was, and I'd be afraid to speak your mind, to say anything to this particular girl because you had put her on this pedestal. Afraid to hang out with one of these guys because you put them on the pedestal. You put everybody on the pedestal in your life except you, and rightfully so, not you, but also no one else. You're just as human as they are. They have what they have based off of something they were either born with, born into, or what they work towards. And so just work towards whatever you want for yourself, if indeed you are not okay with what you have. And that's the whole thing. My understanding with God and the universe, at least from my experience, is that if I don't appreciate what I presently have, why would I get more? I would misuse whatever is to come forth that I'm asking for. So it's understanding to trust the universe and waiting for things to essentially come to you, but while also simultaneously working towards said goal on an aisle. Nothing's just gonna just come to you. It's not gonna happen. Not that way, But what you can do is decide where your ship is headed. And when you decide where your ship's headed, then things in the world start to align with that. Things start to get removed. That's one part. And then also things start to come into your life that will push you towards where you're going, where you're going to. So fear of missing out with definitely like movies or TV shows. Like at a point in time where we didn't have social media growing up. So if you missed the episode of Martin, you wouldn't have been able to talk about it at homeroom with whoever you was in homeroom with, or if you were into Living Single, if you were into Friends, if you were into Jamie Foxx show, Wayne Brothers, whatever it was, the TV show that was out, The Simpsons, you weren't able to take part in that. So that's a mild form of like, fear of missing out, but it's just to be entertaining because it's all much ado about nothing news. There's no benefit for you other than the fact that you get a couple laughs and relativity with some people who watch the same shit as you. But as far as your day-to-day life, being a better person, yeah, it's entertainment. That's all it is. It's just entertainment. But I had that FOMO. I dealt with FOMO for a lot of shit because I just put more value into everything except me. And that became a routine. And people took advantage of that shit. They saw how I put them on pedestals. And they didn't know how to manage the power that they had, so they misused me. That's the best way to look at it for me. You know what I'm saying? And much respect, because I also misuse people. You know what I'm saying? I've misused people. It's human nature. Essentially what we do. We don't necessarily realize that we're doing so purposely, I don't believe. But but times we do. Times we certainly do. So fear of missing out. There's been that fear of missing out with I never really had that fear of missing out as far as like, oh, we're getting older, having kids type thing. I think that's more, for me, it just never got to that point where I had the fear of like, the whole thing happening. Obviously, I was, of my friends, I was one of the ones who had kids early. That wasn't the intention, but that is exactly what happened. So the same thing for like with marriage. There was at one point in time I was definitely like, by 25, by 30, and we got to figure this whole thing out. But never taking into account, was I mentally ready for that? Was I spiritually, emotionally ready for that? And what I believe ends up happening with that idea of fear of missing out, especially with marriage, we don't take into account whether or not we are prepared for said commitment like that. And what we'll do is have two kids who are really just about themselves, or one that's been traumatized to put everybody else before them, and they get with somebody who is solely about them, and they call it a marriage, and then one person's really, really quiet while the other person is like running their fucking mouth and essentially running a relationship but don't know how to manage it, if that makes sense. And one book that I recommend to kind of dispute the whole soulmate myth, because it's commonly what happens in some marriages, but just commonly happens in marriage, is you get an empath and you get a narcissist together, and then they fuse into one another. They're perfect for each other. The narcissist gives the empath that leadership that they crave and whatnot, and then the empath gives the narcissist the praise that they crave. So the book is called The Human Magnet Syndrome by Dr. Rosenberg. Changed my fucking life, honestly, as far as like where I was finding myself on both ends of the spectrum. There's been times where I've used more of my narcissistic tendencies in a situation with a young lady, and then definitely where I've been like the empath in that situation. And a lot of FOMO comes with that too, because you don't want, you think this is the best thing since sliced bread. You put something more value to you in your life, and you don't want to lose essentially what's not even yours. No one is yours. No one belongs to you. Love is about appreciation. In my mind, for me, love is about appreciation and not possession. The fact that if someone is in my life at one point in time and then they leave, they're not me. Now my ego might definitely be attached to the identity of who they were into my life. But as far as the me, the soul, the heart and soul, the meat and potatoes of what this being is on this earth, I'm still whole. I'm still lovable. I am loved, just like everybody else watching this shit. It sounds kind of cliche, cheesy, whatever you want to call it, but you are loved. And sometimes when we in relationships, man, our childhood trauma can fuck with our head, and we just feel like, man, I'm lost. I can't do shit without this person. And now you put your happiness, onto them. You projected your happiness, your completeness of who you feel you are, which is the ego talking right there, identity. I believe I'm this. Truth be told, the soul just is. I'm nothing, that's it. I can, whatever you want to draw me up, that's what I'm going to be. But the soul just is. And I'll be the first one to admit that I can sometimes forget these things, all these things that I study, and get caught up in my ego. And that's when you have to have ego deaths, where you have to laugh at yourself, because you've tapped into your, the part of you that doesn't believe you're enough. And you are. You know what I mean? And I think FOMO has a lot to do with that shit too. Like I won't be enough until I get this item. Then I'll be lovable. You know what I'm saying? We don't think that, but this is subconscious mind. Subconsciously, I believe that we think this way as humans. But anyway, if I ever had fear of missing out, for sure. Highly, growing up as a teenager, well, obviously toys and video games and all that stuff. As you get older, trying to have a certain car, have a live in a certain apartment and have certain amenities, talk to a certain girl with these features, and what I'm saying, and all this other shit. But yeah, to me, it's just recognizing that to deprogram, just to deprogram yourself from all the bullshit that made us focus on shit that had nothing to do with shit. I know, too many shits. What old person thing do you do? I love to listen to like saloon club type jazz with a drink, not whether that's alcohol or more so for me it's sparkling water or those sparkle drinks. They're not sparkling water, they're more fruit based than that seltzer Sprite type taste of like regular, like bubbly and shit. There's sparkle and then there's bubbly. So I drink both of them, and I'll just sit after like a day's work. I'll sit in my recliner in the living room and just let the Amazon device that I don't want to say because she's gonna respond, but I'll listen to whatever, like more than likely just bossa nova or Diana Krall, excuse me if I pronounce her name wrong if she ever watches this, but like that type of jazz, you know what I'm saying? Sit back, listen to some Nat King Cole, Ella Fitzgerald, and you can hold me to it. There's nothing is being said to fabricate. This is the truth, But I say also philosophing the way that I do, reflecting, as old people tend to do towards the end of their life. I reflect on a daily basis, maybe hourly basis for that matter. But what it does is allow me to kind of police myself, reparent myself, recognize, did you operate at your best in that moment? Did you people please? Did you let someone get to you that was not even that you don't even value? Questions that I'll ask myself. That's old people things. Let's say old people thing. I watch the same damn shows a lot of times. Not that I'm not open to new shows, it's just timing. When you got 30 shows that come out and you only have room for one, it's easier to watch something that you're familiar with while you're trying to cook, while you're trying to build a business, while you're trying to do whatever. If you're on your phone while you're fucking watching the show, it's easier to be like, oh, okay, I remember when that happened, versus trying to watch something new and you have to rewind shit. You missed this, I'm probably all been there. But like those things, I watch the same shows. So Martin, Office, Fresh Prince, Family Matters, Jamie Foxx Show, Wayans Brothers, Family Guy, Modern Family, Ninja Turtles, George Lopez for sure, Saved by the Bell, Thundercats, and same documentaries too, about my favorite artists, like most of Michael Jackson documentaries. The hip hop shit, like the Hip Hop Evolution on Netflix. That one I did enjoy watching that shit. Like those BET, the record label chronicles, like Death Row Chronicles, Rough Rider Chronicles, Murder Inc. Chronicles. That like the same shit, because I remember going through that shit. I remember seeing No Limit Chronicles, like those. That was a point in time where I was looking for that again. The FOMO days, the validation of like knowing. So what the hell does this make them say on record? Why everybody keep coming to school talking about And then okay, Master P, you hear about the Ice Cream Man, and it's so hard to say goodbye to my homies, and I really miss my homies. All those things that we used to. Some people listen to it because they actually liked it. I was listening to it to actually be seen and loved and heard, to be like, oh man, John know all the whatever current records. Ego, don't mean shit. It's shit to do with nothing. But I watch the same things. I'll say that me as an old person. When I'm at like a night spot, I'm in a nightlife. Come like 1, 2 o'clock, I'm feeling. Yeah, I'm feeling that sleepy shit. So I like to call it my Corona in the corner. You know, I've lived that life. You know, I lived that life twice over, and enough for me. You know, it might not have been as great as for somebody else, but at least for me, it's just sitting in the corner, listening to like whatever song it is. Hopefully, it ain't too damn loud. You know, more R&B based than hip hop based. I don't know if I got the stamina to be in a club that plays predominantly like the latest hip hop type shit. And that's nothing against them. That's, by all means, I've been that age. Been there in the club when you had to listen to "You Don't Know Me" by T.I., 50 Cent in the club. You know, PIMP. Had those times, you know. And Kanye, come on, like Kanye Stronger, Kanye Gold Digger. If we had to hear that shit, I don't know. They played that shit at least 10 times in the night of when that shit came out. Like Gold Digger was big, and you heard the intro and everybody, all right, we're done. Enough of this shit. You know, the clubs, they'll play like the music video, and then we'll rock with that. Like Nighttime, when we were in the Air Force, Nighttime was big in Fort Walton Beach. Destin, shout out to everybody that was around that time. But yeah, they would mix in, you know, that, and then it would be that, or T.I.'s Bring 'Em Out. It would be T.I.'s Bring 'Em Out. It would be Kanye's Gold Digger. It would be Gwen Stefani's Holla Back Girl. Like that's 20-year-old me. Helicopter hands, helipad hands, you know, with the X's and shit, not being able to drink yet until the next year. But old records, that's you know, play the same old stuff. That's for me, that's the old me. You know, once that music is done, I know I got on a tangent about that, but like listening to, like being in the corners, listening to music and just passing out. But after that, I'm good. Like I definitely don't want to be out until 6 in the morning, closing the night at Denny's or Waffle House anymore. We've done that multiple times. That's old things. I'm good at. We can pass by like a Taco Bell, because Taco Bell will stay open from some to 3, but mostly to 2. So cut out, grab something like that, sit by, you know, dining room table and reflect on like the night. We're like, oh, we had a good time. You know, it was straight. It was chill. Another old people thing. I remove myself from any form of chaos, like a motherfucker. Like anything remotely looks like some dumb shit's about to go down, where somebody's trying to prove themselves, like somebody who is like being around insecure personalities that feel the need to do certain stuff to validate the fact that they're a man, or they ain't no punk or all that shit. I'm good. You can have it. I believe you. I believe you're tough, man. I'm taking my ass home. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't go to places where the customer service is horrible. I don't fuck with that. You get one time. All it takes is once. It takes one time for me to learn. And when I see that you don't value customer service, I won't see you again. That's okay. It's business. It's nothing personal. I don't know you. You know, so for me to get upset with a McDonald's, there's a million McDonald's, I'm gone. For me to be upset at anybody at Burger King, I'm gone. You know, I don't have to see you again. There's plenty of other Burger Kings. There's plenty of other Wendy's. Being upset at somebody that works at a fast food restaurant, I mean, it's nothing to put against anybody working at a fast food restaurant, but educational level, it doesn't require college degrees, PhDs, and master's degrees. So a lot of people that don't, you know, that work there, you haven't had the education to deal with your trauma yet. So you're going to talk however it is, you know what I'm saying? Like, you talk from where you come from. And that's not no shade at nobody. That's just understand what it is. So when you recognize that this is what you're dealing with, it's up to you. Anger's a choice response. You got to decide, are you going to go to the circus, or are you going to leave? Are you going to take part in the circus? Because they've already shown you who they are. You have to decide if you still going to you got to keep your ticket for the circus, and you're going to see a tiger act like a fucking tiger. And when tigers tig, niggas nig, when liars lie, when, you know what I'm saying, haters hate, the only person to be upset with is your ass, because you went to the show. They was gonna be who they were, regardless whether you came or not. But you thought that shit was gonna be okay because you were there. Nope. Fuck no, your expectations and pissed you off again. But when somebody shows you who they are, believe them, and then you gotta decide if you're gonna stay in that shit. That's my mentality. So that's my old people shit. But yeah, talk about a lot of things about old ass people and what we do, but I'm okay with that. Another last thing I talk about old people. I talk about the music, how I don't feel it. I've gotten to that age where I just don't feel certain records. Like we're sadly missing Love out of R&B. We are missing, for me, the lyrical artists in hip hop that are being promoted. We're missing that, and definitely production, and how that's being pushed. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. But that is the old people shit that I do. What recent news story was interesting to you? Well, I just happened to go through, I was on TikTok recently, and I saw Corey Holcomb talking about this. Apparently the government's trying to get rid of Section 8 housing. And he's more so doing it from I think more so of a funny edge, and just talking about, like, almost not women bashing, but just talking about the women that pretty much like profit off of that. That's his angle. Now, it's not to single out women, but this is where Corey was going with it. I'm just giving that to you. But I guess my question is, what does happen to those people? If you're getting rid of people that are living in Section 8 housing, what happens to them? Where would they go? And I don't know, just maybe the human in me. Yeah, the human in me is just like, I would want to know what's that going to lead in America? Is that going to bring up homeless rates? If homeless rates goes up, then you're talking about a civil war between the haves and the have-nots, and what that means for the rest of us, as far as safety at our homes, security systems, firearms. When you no longer have a home, what would you do? You're gonna do whatever it takes to survive. Seems to make sense to me. But that story, to me, if indeed it is true, not just some rumor mill TikTok shit, I find to be very interesting, because it could definitely lead to civil unrest. What are your most important rules when going on a date? Yeah, the most important rules for me when going on a date is understanding that I am dressed for the occasion. Like, depending where we're going, the message I'm sending in my attire is essentially matching that. Like, wife beater and basketball shorts, like how I used to do when I didn't know any better. I was like a late teen going into like a Ruby Tuesday, or I don't know, Chinese spot, whatever it is, and you're sitting down. Like, to me, that's more couch wear. That's more, I'm running to Walmart real quick, running to Winn-Dixie, running to Food Line, running into Farm Fresh, just naming all the shit from back home, by the way. But like, those, to me, that's that attire's for. I had to learn this shit. I didn't always know it, but I learned about how and where to wear fashion. You know what I'm saying? There's a book called Tanner Guzzi called The Appearance of Power that would be very helpful for men. And he doesn't really talk much about women, but for any man reading, watching this, you can definitely check out The Appearance of Power by Tanner Guzzi. I read it during COVID. That was one of my favorite books during COVID. Definitely taught me a lot about fashion and all that shit. But so ladies watching this, recommend it to your man, recommend it to your girlfriend, whatever your case may be. But like the appearance of the appearance of power, it does matter. You know what I'm saying? Like from a social standpoint, those little things do matter as far as like how you get treated. I don't believe that I don't believe in the fact that it does occur, but it does. But I mean, essentially, just because you don't believe in something doesn't mean that it's not real, So what that means to me, what I'm saying is that what you're wearing is sending messages to people. So important rules on a date. My fashion is very key and it's very tactful, strategic, and again, just you get out what you put in. So I put a lot of study into what I want to wear, how I want to wear it, the statement it's going to make, especially for the lady on my arm. You know what I mean? Because it's representation and taking pride in yourself, number one, and understanding that you want her, you have no control over this, but you want to do your part in her understanding that she's out with someone who takes pride in himself and how he carries himself. Grooming and all of that is very, like very big too. Color choices. Knowing your colors in the summer, knowing your colors in springtime, knowing your colors in the wintertime. Like lighter pastel colors for the summer and spring, and then darker, more darker colors during the winter, like fall and winter. It's like that matches like your skin tone, like a lot of neutral tone colors. Neutral colors can be worn throughout the year, but like the ones that match your skin tone during like the fall and the winter, depending on what your shade is. But so those are the rules for fashion, making sure that I am funky fresh, dressed to impress, ready to party. And I say more so, same for her. How does she carry herself? What effort does she put into it? Now, granted, we're not looking for top model shit. We're just talking about how you carry yourself into, how you carry yourself into an outing. You feel me? And how she, listening to how she talks to, and not just how she talks, but how she talks about other people that can do nothing for her, and being very mindful of how, whether she feels like she's here and other people are here, and the patience that she has when things don't go her way. Very key, because impatience talks a lot. It speaks very loudly. Now, you can be assertive about things not getting done, but when you throw tantrums because things are not getting done, that is eye-opening. You're able to see this person's trauma right before your eyes. And we don't even know we're doing these things. That's the interesting part. With the untrained eye, we're telling on ourselves with the things that we do, because insecurities are very loud, and secure people tend to be very quiet. You know what I'm saying? And so as far as like relaxed, quiet in the sense of like being relaxed, like they only act when needed. They don't just go out of their way to say something. They don't go out of their way to talk. They don't go out of their way to be seen. They just know they're just there. That's what I mean when I say insecurities are loud, in the sense that secure people tend to be, like reserved, quiet, and they speak when it's necessary, not because they have to say something. Other rule for dating: watching how much entitlement that she carries within herself, in a sense of like let's say dating a woman on the first date, and this motherfucker goes to reach for the food that you ordered. Okay, you feel some type of way that you could do this. Like, what, you know what I'm saying? Like, some think it's cute, think it's funny and shit like that. Sure. Situation pending. Situation pending. I'll say for me, it's like, what level of respect do you have? Is where I'm going with that. How, again, just being on a date, and how does she carry herself? Does she draw attention by being loud? We're too old for that shit at this point. No, like save that shit for your late 20s. I mean, not late 20s, but late teens, early 20s. By 30, I believe that we can be more collective as far as how we talk to people about being seen versus being out in public, being loud. You know what I mean? Like that to me is eye-opening, and that's, I think, long term. When things happen, most of the time I'm thinking long term, like, oh, okay, so this is in your character. Okay, this is how you're gonna carry yourself. So if a man is to commit to you down the road, this is what he's going to have and be able to deal with, and be like, oh, that's just how I am. Right. That toxic ass statement. This is just who I am. This is, you're programming yourself to believe that. You're choosing that, sure. But no, I don't believe this is just how you are. I respect how you believe it for yourself, but this is, no. For me, my perspective, this is not how you are. This is how you're choosing to be, which is okay. I'm not able to change you, but I can remove myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, for when it doesn't work for me. And that's the beauty of it. Like, the fact that you have choice, that you're not there you're not forced to be there. Rules on date, the conversation. If she plans to just talk surface level shit, entertainment gossip, it's not gonna go far. I don't give a fuck about that shit at all. Like, we might talk music, that's my lighthearted shit like that. Music, maybe movies or something. But, like, I heard that Kim Kardashian had stolen Kanye's wallet when they went to Target. I don't give a shit about that. I know Kanye for music. I know Kim for beauty and who she was aligned with the other people that I knew that were in music and entertainment. I found out Kim Kardashian through Nick Cannon. I was watching Wildin' Out, and they were talking about Nick Cannon was dating fucking Kim Kardashian. That's how I found out about her. It might have been, or Ray J, one of the two. One of those two. I got to remember what came first. I think it was like, Nick Cannon was dating that, but I'm getting off topic. Anyway, conversation at the table. I don't have to know your entire family history, but when I do ask you what your relationship is like with your parents, your response is going to tell me a lot. Yes, it's going to tell me a lot about you, as well as the work that you're either avoiding or the work that you're presently doing to work on yourself. It's more so about you. The question is again the effect that it has on you. Like, if you ask me about my parents or whatever, and I get really, really fucking defensive, touchy subject. It's a nerve. That's something that long term I'm gonna have to deal with. If it's never dealt with by yourself. You gotta understand, when you get into there's a long-term relationship with somebody, most of the time people get comfortable. And when you get comfortable, you stop being ambitious. You stop putting work into things. You feel like, oh, this is it, I'm done. But if you haven't done the work on yourself, and then you get into a relationship with someone, that work that you did not do yet, due from the previous trauma that we've all endured at some point in time in our childhood, that is going to indirectly be on the person that you're with, which I don't believe is fair. Not at all. That's not their responsibility to take on your projections of your pain, the insecurities that you brought into it. Again, nobody's perfect by any means. We're not talking about perfection. We're talking about protection here for your mental. And you must protect your mental at all costs. It is vital that you do so, because some people really will drain the fuck out of you if you allow them to. You gotta love yourself more than other people say they do. That's the truth of the matter. I don't care who you are, who you've been involved, who you've been involved with, who you're involved with, how long you've known them. You must love yourself more than the desire to hear somebody tell you that they love you. And mean it. That too, because you'll never really know for sure. You only control the love that you give, not the love that you receive. So there's that. What else? Important rules on the date. How often she speaks about her ex. That's another thing. And also the temperament and how she speaks on her ex is eye-opening. It's alarming. Again, we tell on ourselves a lot when we open our mouth. Our body language is it's hard to keep things in to the trained eye. It's hard to keep things in when you see certain shit. You can get caught up in the gossip trail and talk about shit that don't mean nothing. Whatever current news is going on. Hey, you hear what Trump did, or what, did the Diddy case, whatever it is, like if there's a first date around this time. But listen to a person, observe them, recognize them. They'll tell you everything that you need to know in the moment. They might not tell you everything you want to know, but they'll tell you everything you need to know in the moment. And expectations too. And expectations, especially like with a woman's soul, demands, certain demands and shit. Talking to you as if the way she talks to you, whether or not she values men. There's no point in engaging anything further with a woman who does not value man. I don't recommend it. You'll know the difference, just how they talk to you. When people value shit, they're very mindful. They do their best to try to make you feel seen, heard, and loved. But when they don't really give a fuck. They're gonna say whatever they want to say to you and claim that's just who I am. Sure, when you go to a job interview and you really want that job, you don't just come in just saying whatever the fuck you want. No, you choose your words very carefully. And I'm not telling you it's like, oh, I can't be me. This is not about being you. Why are you choosing to be this? Is the question. Is it helpful? Is it beneficial to you to be this way? Are you speaking from pain, or are you speaking from love? When you open your mouth and you talk to people, is what you said painful? Is what you said out of love? Is it said in a loving way? Because some people say shit and say that was out of love, and it was they said something painful to you. But are you speaking in a loving manner when you talk to people? Now, there's certain ways a man can talk to a woman in a loving way, but it's assertive. It's understanding the difference. There's that speaking in loving ways, and there's also speaking like a masculine man to a feminine woman. Now, if a masculine man and a masculine woman are having a conversation, you can best believe that rams are forming. However, it is important and imperative to maintain said frame as a man. And once a woman recognizes that she's in a masculine frame, eventually she will soften that, her demeanor, if indeed she does value men. Now, she really don't fuck with men, she a feminist or whatnot, she is going to talk to you like you ain't shit. And again, you have to decide if you're going to go to the circus at that point in time. You have to choose. Are you going to stay here with the tigers while they're tiging? Or are you going to respect yourself enough to leave the table? And don't even look back. Break your rearview mirror. Drive the fuck on. It's like, leave that be. Love yourself enough. Love yourself enough to value yourself. If no one else does. If I can just recommend anything that to anybody. But I mean, those are maybe not the most common rules that you may hear from somebody, but this is what I think while on a date. These are things that go through my head now, especially with what I learned on a day-to-day basis. Again, how we present ourselves, how do we talk to people that can do nothing for us, how we value those, in our life and stuff like that. How do we talk about our family? You may not be on the same page with your family, but if you indeed just pop off into a tantrum when someone asks you about all your relationship with your parents, then that long term is going to be something that you're going to deal with in your life. My opinion, my perspective, not a right or wrong thing. This is just how I see shit. But yeah, important rules when dating. That's what goes to the mind. But signing off from here. I'm Romy Mac, and I'm out. Good night, kids. How can a woman wanting to be wifed up remove herself from marriage contention with a man like yourself? Okay, how a woman can remove herself from marriage contention, as far as with me, be masculine. Be masculine. Don't respect men. Project your pain. Project your insecurities. Treat people like shit. Make your problems, try to make your problems my problems. Don't take pride in appearance and yourself. Don't, you know what I'm saying? Being loud in public. You know what I'm saying? Not knowing how to manage one's emotions. And, you know what I'm saying? Like being critical. Wanting, seeing things from right and wrong versus looking at things in perspective. Tearing down other people's ideas. It has nothing to do with you. Somebody shares something with you, you don't have to say, oh, that shit is stupid. It has nothing to do with you. Having an issue with me having a kid, that's another way to remove that. I want it to be the focus of the relationship instead of supporting the purpose. That's something I see. Does she respect I'm on a purpose, or does she want to be the focus of the relationship that she's trying to form with me? Doesn't want to enter your frame. Yeah, doesn't want to enter your frame. Doesn't looks at it as misogynist and not so much gender roles that help structure society to run a bit smooth, as smooth as possible. Fighting to, who constantly has to have the last word, and tries to overtalk people. Yeah, anyone, whether that be her co-workers, whether that be family members, whether that be, a guy that she's dating, not value what her kids have to say. Be a parent, but be mindful that they're human too. Allow them to express themselves enough to where they're not being disrespectful, in a sense. And there's a way that a kid can express themselves how they feel on something without you taking it personal and believing that they're being disrespectful to you. You call that new age parenting, whatever you want to call it, but it's eye-opening when you don't allow anybody to say anything and you just try to overtalk everyone and you believe that your word is law. That, it's alarming. So yeah, and so those are things that a woman can do to remove herself from a woman wanting to be wifed up. Things she can do to remove herself from marriage contention.